What if the glass of water you just drank did almost nothing for your circulation? What if, after the age of 60, plain water is quietly failing the exact system you think it is helping? Before we go any further, do one small thing. Tap that like button right now, not because I asked nicely, but because this video is going to save you from a mistake almost every doctor forgets to mention. Subscribe if you want more of this, and if you know someone over 60 who is always cold, always tired, always reaching for another glass of water that never seems to help, send them this video. Send it before you even finish watching it. They need this today, not next week. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Your circulation does not run on water. It runs on a gas, a tiny, invisible molecule your body makes every single day of your life, called nitric oxide. This one molecule is the difference between warm hands and cold hands, between a clear morning mind and a foggy one. It is the difference between legs that carry you up the stairs and legs that feel like they are dragging sandbags. Nitric oxide is produced inside the lining of your blood vessels, in a thin layer of cells called the endothelium. When these cells release nitric oxide, your blood vessels get a signal to relax and widen. Wider vessels mean easier blood flow. Easier blood flow means oxygen actually reaches your brain, your muscles, your fingertips, and your toes. When this system is working well, you do not think about your circulation at all. It just quietly does its job in the background. Think about the last time you stepped outside on a cold morning and your fingers went numb within minutes. That is your vessels narrowing, pulling blood away from your extremities to protect your core. Nitric oxide sends the opposite message. It says, open up, let the blood through, warm the hands, feed the muscles. Every day of your life, your body runs a constant balancing act between these two signals, narrowing and opening. For most of your life, that balance tips comfortably in your favor without you ever having to think about it. The problem is that balance does not hold steady forever. But here is what almost nobody explains clearly. As you move past 60, the enzyme responsible for making nitric oxide slows down dramatically. Some research suggests this decline can be as steep as 50% or more compared to your 30s. That is not a minor dip. That is your vascular system losing one of its most important tools. It happens quietly, without a single symptom you would notice at first. And it does not stop there. Two other things happen at the exact same time. Your blood becomes a little thicker, a little slower moving, because your red blood cells lose some of the flexibility they had when you were younger. Picture honey on a warm day compared to honey straight out of the fridge. Same substance, completely different behavior. That is what is happening inside your vessels as the decades go by. At the same time, your body's fluid balance shifts. Your thirst signal, the internal alarm that tells you to drink, becomes weaker with age. Many people over 60 are mildly dehydrated most of the time and genuinely cannot feel it. This is because the alarm that used to go off simply does not ring as loudly anymore. So picture the full situation. Vessels that do not open as easily, blood that moves more sluggishly, and a body that is quietly short on fluid without sounding the alarm. That is the real circulatory landscape most people are living in after 60, whether they realize it or not. Now here is the part that matters most. You drink a glass of plain water. What does that actually fix? It helps with fluid volume a little. That is genuinely useful. But it does absolutely nothing for the enzyme that makes nitric oxide. It does nothing to thin thickened blood. And if you are drinking large amounts of plain water without any minerals in it, you can actually dilute the very electrolytes your blood vessels depend on to relax. I am talking especially about magnesium and potassium. When magnesium drops even slightly, your vessels tighten instead of loosening. Blood pressure can creep upward. Circulation to your hands and feet can get worse, not better. This is exactly why so many people who drink 8 glasses of water a day faithfully still deal with cold fingers. They still hit a wall of exhaustion every afternoon and feel like their thinking is wrapped in fog by mid-afternoon. The water is going in, but the vascular response simply is not following along. Let me tell you about a woman I will call Diane. She was 64 when she first came to see me. A retired school teacher, precise, organized, the kind of person who kept a little notebook of her habits. She had been drinking exactly 2 liters of water every day for 3 years because she had read somewhere that hydration protects the heart. Her hands were cold even in the middle of summer. She had started needing to sit halfway up a flight of stairs, something she had never had to do before. She described a strange, heavy fog that rolled in every day around 3 in the afternoon, like someone had turned down the brightness on her brain. Her basic blood work came back completely normal. Her doctor told her that everything looked fine on paper. She told me she had started avoiding handshakes because she was embarrassed by how cold her hands felt to other people. She had stopped taking her grandchildren to the park in the afternoons because she simply did not trust her energy to hold up. Small things, quiet things. The kind of small losses that pile up over months. Until one day you realize you have shrunk your whole life down to fit around a problem nobody has actually named for you yet. When I sat down and reviewed her daily routine, the pattern was obvious almost immediately. Diane was hydrated in terms of volume, but her vascular system had lost its ability to respond to that hydration. She was pouring water into a tank whose delivery pipes were partially shut. I will come back to what happened with Diane over the following weeks, because it is genuinely worth hearing. But first, you need to understand the mechanism I actually used to help her. It changes everything about how you should think about circulation after 60. If nobody has ever explained this to you before, that is exactly why this channel exists. Hit that subscribe button now, because what I am about to walk you through next is the actual missing piece. It is the part your doctor almost certainly never mentioned in a 10-minute appointment. There's a second pathway your body has for creating nitric oxide. This path has nothing to do with that aging enzyme in your blood vessels. It is called the dietary nitrate pathway, and it is one of the most underused tools for circulation in people over 60. Here's how it actually works, and it is simpler than it sounds. Certain plant foods contain compounds called dietary nitrates. Your body can convert these directly into nitric oxide through a completely separate route. This route skips right past the weakened enzyme entirely. This is why it is so valuable as you get older. It does not rely on the part of your body that has slowed down. It uses an entirely different door. Here is the sequence. You consume a food rich in dietary nitrates. Those nitrates are absorbed into your bloodstream through your stomach and intestines. From there, they travel to your salivary glands, where bacteria that live naturally on your tongue convert them into a compound called nitrite. You swallow that nitrite, it travels back down into your stomach, and the acidic environment there converts it into nitric oxide. That nitric oxide is absorbed into your bloodstream and goes straight to work, signaling your vessels to relax and open. The whole cycle, from the moment you consume the food to the moment your vessels respond, takes roughly 30 to 90 minutes. The effect can last for several hours, with a second wave of benefit appearing 3 to 4 hours later. The richest, most studied source of dietary nitrate is beetroot. Leafy greens like arugula and spinach also contain meaningful amounts, but beetroot has been studied the most extensively and tends to deliver the most consistent dose. The exact nitrate content varies from brand to brand, so look for a product that actually lists the nitrate amount on the label. Most of the research, showing meaningful blood flow improvements, used amounts equivalent to roughly 1 to 2 teaspoons of a good quality beetroot powder. Studies looking at people specifically over 60 have shown measurable improvements in blood flow to the arms and legs within about 3 hours of a single dose. The benefits build further the more consistently it is used day after day. What makes this pathway especially interesting is that it essentially rewards consistency more than intensity. This is not a single miracle dose that fixes everything overnight. It is closer to compound interest. A small, reliable deposit made every single morning adds up week after week until the underlying baseline of your circulation genuinely shifts. That is a very different model than most people expect from a health intervention. It is exactly why so many people give up in the first few days, right before the effect actually starts to build. But here's the detail that trips up almost everyone who tries this and gives up too early. They think it does not work for them. That entire conversion process depends on bacteria living on your tongue and in your mouth. If you rinse with a strong antibacterial mouthwash before eating or drinking something rich in nitrates, you wipe out the very bacteria responsible for that first conversion step. No bacteria means no nitrite. No nitrite means no nitric oxide from this pathway. The whole chain snaps before it even gets started. This has actually been tested directly. In studies where people used a strong antibacterial mouth rinse before drinking beetroot juice, their nitric oxide response was dramatically weaker. The nitrate still entered their body, but without those oral bacteria doing their job, the conversion simply could not finish. This is the exact mistake that quietly ruins this approach for so many people. They brush their teeth, swish with mouthwash out of habit, then drink their beetroot juice or eat their leafy greens, and wonder why nothing changes. The sequence itself destroyed the mechanism before it had a chance to work. I think this is worth sitting with for a moment because it explains so much. Somebody tries beetroot juice for 2 weeks, feels nothing different, and quietly concludes it is just another wellness trend. But the truth is, they were never actually testing the pathway at all. Their morning mouthwash was shutting the door before the process even had a chance to begin. It is not that the science was wrong. It is that one small, completely overlooked habit was quietly canceling it out every single day. If you have made it this far, you already understand something about your own circulation that most people your age never will. Type the word flow in the comments right now. It tells me you are actually paying attention. It helps me understand exactly who is watching so I can bring you more of this. There is one more layer to this that takes the whole approach from good to genuinely powerful, and it costs absolutely nothing. The full method is not just about drinking beetroot powder and water. That step alone helps. But there are 2 more pieces that dramatically amplify what your body does with it, and both of them are completely free. Here is the full method, step by step. I call it the circulation switch because that is exactly what it does. It flips your body from running on a weakened pathway to running on a second, fully functional one. Step 1 happens the night before. Skip the antibacterial mouthwash, both the night before and the morning of. This is not optional if you want this to actually work. You can still brush your teeth normally. Mechanical brushing is fine and encouraged. It is specifically the antibacterial rinse that kills off the bacteria you need. If you are using a prescription antibacterial rinse for a dental condition, talk to your dentist before changing anything. But for most people, simply skipping the everyday commercial mouthwash on these mornings is both safe and genuinely important. Step 2 is the drink itself, and you want to prepare it about 30 to 45 minutes before your first real movement of the day. This could be a walk, some light stretching, or simply getting up and moving around the kitchen. Take 250 milliliters of room temperature water. Not cold, not hot. Cold water can cause a mild tightening in your stomach that slows down absorption, so room temperature is what you want. Stir in 1 level teaspoon of pure beetroot powder. You will find this at health food stores, pharmacies, or online. Look for a product where beetroot is the only ingredient, or possibly beetroot with a touch of citric acid as a natural preservative. Add a small pinch of good quality sea salt, not ordinary table salt, which has had most of its trace minerals stripped away. That pinch of sea salt supplies a small but meaningful amount of magnesium and potassium, the exact minerals your vascular muscles need. It also helps your body actually use the nitric oxide once it is made. If you want to go a step further, squeeze in a small amount of fresh lemon juice, about 1/4 teaspoon's worth. The mild acidity gives a slight boost to the stomach conversion step. Some people report noticeably more warmth in their hands and feet with this addition compared to without it. Stir it all together and drink it slowly, over 3 to 5 minutes, not in one gulp. Sipping slowly gives the bacteria on your tongue more time in contact with the nitrates. If you are still with me and finding this genuinely useful, drop the number 2 in the comments. It is a quick way to let me know you are actually here and following along. Step 3 is what turns this from a simple drink into something remarkably effective. Right after you finish the drink, within about 2 minutes, do 6 slow rounds of nasal breathing. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold gently for 2 seconds. Breathe out through your nose with a soft humming sound for 6 seconds. The hollow spaces around your nose, called your sinuses, constantly produce their own supply of nitric oxide. Every time you breathe in through your nose, some of that nitric oxide travels down into your lungs and gets absorbed. Research has shown that humming gently while you exhale can multiply the amount of nitric oxide released from your sinuses. This is because the vibration dramatically improves the exchange of air in and out of those small spaces. When you combine the nitric oxide from your drink with the nitric oxide from this nasal breathing, you are activating 2 separate sources. Step 4 is timing your movement. Within 30 to 45 minutes of finishing the drink, do something physical. A 10 to 15 minute walk is plenty. Light stretching or a few trips up and down the stairs works too. Moving your body creates shear stress, which is the physical sensation of blood moving faster across the inner walls of your vessels. That sensation itself triggers even more nitric oxide release from the vessel lining. You end up with 2 reinforcing effects. The drink opens the door, the movement keeps it open and pushes it open even wider. If you have made it all the way here, drop the number 4 in the comments. It means a lot to me. In the first week of this routine, most people notice warmth returning to their hands and feet within 30 to 60 minutes. By weeks 2 and 3, your body becomes more efficient at using this pathway the more regularly it is called upon. Most people notice a real improvement in their afternoon energy during this stretch. By weeks 4 through 8, the changes people notice most tend to be mental, like clearer thinking first thing in the morning. Words come to mind faster instead of getting stuck on the tip of the tongue. Sharpness returns that had quietly faded. Improved blood flow tends to show up in how clearly you think before it shows up almost anywhere else. Some people also notice their exercise tolerance improving. A walk that used to leave them winded now feels easier. One quick note so it does not catch you off guard. Beetroot powder can turn your urine and sometimes your stool a pinkish red color. This is completely harmless. It is simply a natural pigment from the beet, and it does not mean anything is wrong. If you take blood pressure medication, this approach may enhance the effect of that medication. Keep an eye on your blood pressure during the first couple of weeks and let your doctor know you have added this to your routine. Now let me come back to Diane. 8 weeks after we started this exact routine, the change was obvious before she even sat down. She had not changed her medications or overhauled her diet, but her cold hands were gone and her heavy fog had lifted. She told me, "I spent 3 years tracking my water intake thinking I was doing everything right. It turns out I was solving the wrong problem." Volume without mechanism does not get you very far. Hydration without the right chemistry cannot make your vessels respond the way you need. Give your circulation the right signal. I will see you in the next one. And as always, before changing anything about your health routine, talk it through with your physician. That is the smart way to do this right.